Hey, what's the first opportunity you have with young people every day to connect? That's the question I'm thinking about today. And I know I am not alone. Uh, Seasons, program cycles are about to change. We're going to enter into a new school year. We're going to enter into a change of after school programs. We're going to enter into a time of onboarding new staff, new educators. And so let's think about how we set the stage for this new cycle and this new season. I'm Susan, if you're new to the channel, and we're going to just talk about the power of connection. And we want to think about our first strategy, which is really welcoming them. It's the greeting strategy. So think about this with me, because you need to have a relationship plan as you start out this new season. Every season, we need to think about this. So what's it feel like for you when you enter into a new room? If it's a group of friends, you might feel comfortable, or you may not. If it's a group of new people, if it's an unfamiliar classroom or school or setting, it can be really intimidating, and even more so the younger you are, I think, than as you age. And so we can counter that intimidation by how we set things up, by taking the moment to greet them at the door and really see them make use of that opportunity, that moment to connect and show that we really value them. So as I'm preparing for the new year and I'm writing up training activities and whatnot, I had a couple of stories that came to mind. And so I thought for once, I need to share my failings with you guys, because I think we've all failed at the greeting strategy at one time or another, maybe frequently. I was working with a group of young people for a year, and we were planning out a big project. And so my co-chair was a young person. And I remember one time he came into the office, and as soon as he got there, I was like, "Hey, Hank, I'm so glad to see you. Let's go over the agenda. We need to do this. We need to do that. Do you want to cover this? Do you want me to cover that?" And he was like, "Hey, Miss Susan, chill. How are you? How's your day going?" I caught my breath. I laughed. And that's all it took for that entire program cycle. I slowed down. I spent 5 minutes catching up with Hank and seeing him and asking and just relating. So that my first strategy and relationship plan was that I created space for myself before I got with those young people every meeting, and I made brownies, or I meditated, or I did something that got me out of task mode, even though we were going to get a lot of stuff done, and got me into relationship mode. I needed them to know that I valued them and cared about them more so than the things we were going to get done. And we were going to get stuff done, but we could have fun and all of that. And it just so happened, because it was an after school setting, that I was in task mode all day, and I just needed to build in that time so I could make that switch. But if you're in a school system, it's a matter of going to the door and standing in the doorway to greet everybody who comes in, look them in the eye, and see them. Now, I know I've seen a lot of YouTubes, and I've heard the stories about the people who are like, "Okay, I'm going to greet you any way you want to greet me. I'm going to respond in kind, and we're going to be good to go for the rest of the classroom." And then you let them initiate. Is it going to be a high five? Is it going to be a fist bump? Is it going to be a shoulder bump? A side hug? Shaking hands? Or I've seen some very elaborate, things that people do where they've created these elaborate greetings. But you let them initiate the kind of greeting and let them know that I'm going to respond to you the way that you greet me, and it's going to bring the energy into the classroom. And I've seen YouTubes with this, so this is not unknown, but we just need to build in the time. Now, I want to pause here and say, I think one of the reasons we need to build in that time is because of what we've gone through with the pandemic. So as we move, hopefully, more and more into face-to-face situations again, there's, a year and a half of some resistance and some uncertainty. And that means letting them create how they want to greet you is important, because if some people are still having to be careful, they might just want to do a wave, or an air high five. So letting them initiate it, I think, is really important. That lets you pay attention to them on an SEL level, social emotional learning level. So that's one of those things. The other thing is that when you're greeting them, you're assessing them. You're looking them in the eye, and you can tell a lot just by looking them in the eye. And you might know from looking at some whether you need to check in further. Example, when I was in college, there was a moment, I don't even remember what it was. There was something I was upset about. I was sitting in church crying, and the college pastor was on stage. When the service was over, he walked to the edge of the stage. He pointed at me and he told me to come here. I don't remember what I was upset about. I don't remember if I told him about it or not. All I knew was that he saw me. He saw me, he cared, and he was going to check in. So when you look them eye in the eye, you see what's going on in their face. You know if you need to check in later on, or if it's universal across your group of students, that you might have to change your game plan to deal with whatever it is that's going on before you get to the content, before you get to the delivery of whatever the lesson plan is. Because if you don't check in and you just go straight to the subject, that person who is hurting is going to know and feel the disconnect, and so you've already lost them. They're not going to pay attention. Let's see. So that's it. Level 1, relationship plan, making sure you're using the power of connection to create a greeting. And if you are jammed, one way you can do youth empowerment is create a welcoming crew. Put some of your extroverted youth on it. Put them in charge of welcoming new people into the school, into the program, greeting them to class. You can train them to give tours of the school, have them assist you in learning names and initiating some kind of activity with the newbies. So you can also use this as a way to engage others in the classroom, in the program space, to make the overall time welcoming. So I hope this is a helpful reminder just to tuck it into your head as we make transitions. There's so many lesson plans we're thinking about. Let's not forget the relationship plan. And if you want to read more on strategies for connection, you can check out the book that Ann Saylor and I wrote, Groups, Troops, Clubs, and Classrooms, the Essential Handbook for Working with Youth. There will be a link in the comments. Hope you like this. Subscribe so you don't miss out on the other strategies that we share here, because we're just trying to help the field be the best we can and make the biggest impact we can on the lives of others. Thanks for coming by. See you next time.